the opposite, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse. It's the same triangle, so it shouldn't change at all. This time they're asking you to find BC, so that's this side here. We're going to circle the two sides we need to use. We still need to use the hypotenuse because it has the measurement there. Okay, then we also need to find this side, which is my x. So this time we're using adjacent and hypotenuse. So if we go look over, if we use SOHCAHTOA again, we want to find the one that's going to use adjacent and hypotenuse. So it'd be cosine. So this time we're going to do the cosine of 49 equals, the adjacent side is my x this time, over the hypotenuse, which is 9. Any questions over that? Okay. Let's try the next one. Find CA. Okay, so I need everybody to go and check and label the opposite, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse of the angle that has 37 degrees. That's 37 degrees. Okay, Gracie, what is the opposite side? AB. So this is my opposite side. Ruby, what is my hypotenuse? So this is my adjacent side. They want us to find CA. So this right here is my x. My hypotenuse is the x. Okay, try to come up with the trig ratio that we're going to use. Are we going to use sine, cosine, or tangent to write the equation? You need to figure out which one. You can only use one to work, that will work for this. And you need to choose which one that is. Okay. So we want to use the x and the 7. If we write down again, so SOHCAHTOA, that side that uses the opposite and the hypotenuse is sine. So we're going to do the sine. My angle is 37 degrees equals opposite is 7 over the hypotenuse, which is x. Yes. You need to find the one that you're looking for, your x, your unknown, and then the one that gave you a value, a number. So I use 7 because I have that number. And I'm looking for AC, so that's my x. So that's why I'm using those two sides. You can't use the Pythagorean theorem in this case because there's only given one side and you would need two. So that's why we're using sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, try this one now. Try to find BC. Try and set up your equation. Okay, we're back up here. Let's just check your work. Okay, on the count of 3, I want you guys to yell out which trig function we use, sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. That is correct. We should be using tangent because this is still the opposite side, this is still the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse. The thing that changed is I'm looking for this side now. My x is BC. I still need to use the opposite side, but this time I want to use the adjacent side to find that missing side. And our TOA tangent uses the opposite and the adjacent. So we're going to say the tangent now of 37 is going to equal our opposite side over the adjacent side. Any questions over that? Okay, now we're going to actually find our missing value. Okay, we do all need calculators. So I forgot to get you guys to get those. We're going to get those right now. So we're going to do the same thing we just did. Find the opposite side, the adjacent side, the hypotenuse. So I'm using this angle, angle A, 53 degrees, and I'm going to label the opposite side, the adjacent side, and the hypotenuse. We're going to find x and y. I'm going to start by finding the x. So I'm going to use the x and then the one with a number. The side with the number, which is this side here. Then I'm going to review. So, ka, toa. For this one, I'm using adjacent and opposite. So it's toa or tangent. So we're going to write the tangent of 53 degrees equals the opposite side, which is 8, over the adjacent side, which is x. We now have an equation that we're going to solve. You need to get x by itself to solve this. So this is now a proportion. So I'm going to put tangent of 53 over 1 and then cross multiply. So x times the tangent of 53 is x times the tangent of 53 degrees. Then you're going to do 1 times 8 and get 8. My x is still not by itself yet. So I have to now divide. I want to get that x by itself, so I have to divide by the tangent of 53. These will now cancel out, and I'll get x equals 8 over the tangent of 53. Now we're going to use our calculators. So if you have my big one, you're going to pick it up, you're going to turn it on. Okay. Then you're going to go to the home button, hit the on button with the little house on it again, and it'll take you here. And you want to arrow over to calculate if you're not already there. This is your mouse right up here. So you can just use the arrow buttons over to go back and forth. And then you just hit enter to get it into calculator mode. Okay. Down here says enter. Or you can hit the mouse button and that will also be enter. That's fine. You can clear it out if you'd like. Don't worry about it then. Okay, you don't need to clear it out. It's fine. So you're going to enter the number 8. Then you want to hit the divided. And then to find the tangent, you can find it on your, if you have a different calculator, just find the tangent button and hit that. For my big calculators, on the big calculators, it has a button by the blue button. Look at the blue button on your calculator. Then it has a trig button. Does it say now? Let's wait till after the notes. Then you're going to click on that, and it's going to have sine, cosine, tangent, and then sine, -1, cosine, tangent. Okay, you just want to use the arrow buttons to move arrow over to tangent. And then inside those parentheses that it gives you, hit 53. And then hit enter. And we want x equals, we're going to round to 2 decimal places, 6.03. And it needs to have the about. Since we rounded. Okay, so that's how we found x. Now we're going to find y. So to find the y, we need to use the hypotenuse, not that one, and the x. And the 8. So we want to have the hypotenuse and then the number that they gave us. You don't want to use the number that you found, because what if that number's wrong? Or because we rounded, it'll be off. Okay, so you always want to go back to the original number that they gave you of 8. So then we go look here and see which one uses the hypotenuse and the opposite. And that should be so, or the sine. So we're going to do the sine of 53 equals the opposite, which is 8, over the hypotenuse, which is y. We're going to solve it just like we did before. Put this over 1. And then cross multiply. So y times 53 is y times the sine of 53. And it equals 1 times 8, which was 8. Then we want to divide. We want to get the y by itself, so we're going to divide by the sine of 53. This will cancel out. And I'll get y equals 8 divided by the sine of 53. So that same thing on your calculator that we just did. We're going to have 8 divided by, find your sine of 53, and then hit enter. Okay, what did we get? Okay, we're going to round well, and it should be 10.02. Any questions over that? We're all good? Okay, next one. Okay, for F, label opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse for me, please. Okay, Sydney, what's the opposite side? Dustin, what's the adjacent side? Okay, so that makes this the hypotenuse. We're still dealing with SO, CA, TOA. So we're going to find X first. Frank, which two sides are we going to use to find x? Okay. And what other side to find x? Is that x? AC. So we want to do these two. So that's adjacent over hypotenuse. And so that's going to be my ka of SOHCAHTOA, which is my cosine. So the cosine of 44 equals the adjacent, which is 6.3, over the hypotenuse, which is x. We're going to put this over 1. And then cross multiply. So x times the cosine of 44 is x times the cosine of 44. And then 1 times 6.3 is 6.3. We still need to get the x by itself. So I'm going to divide by the cosine of 44. So we're going to get x equals 6.3 divided by the cosine of 44. We're going to use our wonderful calculators now. Enter 6.3 divided by, find cosine of 44. And I have x equals 8.76. We're rounding to 2 decimal places, you guys. And these are inches. Any questions? How are we doing with this? We're good? Okay, find y on your own. Okay, so most of you found that we're going to use tangent. So the tangent of 44 is going to equal my opposite, which is the y, over the adjacent, which is 6.3. This is how your proportion should be set up. A lot of you guys are having the 6.3 on top and the y on the bottom because the other ones have. Okay? But you have to do it by the sides, opposite over adjacent. Then you put this over 1 and you cross multiply. 6.3 times the tangent of 44 is 6.3 times the tangent of 44. Then you have 1 times y, which is just y. Since y is already by itself, you don't need to do anything else. You don't need to divide by anything. It's just y equals already. So you're just going to plug it into your calculator. And do 6.3 times, find your tangent button, enter 44, and I get y equals 6.08. I said round to 2 decimal places. So if I asked you to round down to 1, then yes, but I didn't ask you to round to 1, I asked you to round to 2. 6.3 times now, because you're multiplying, tangent of 44. 6.8. 6.08, sorry. Any questions? Okay, now we're going to move on to some word problems. Yes. Yes, thank you. I should keep getting my abouts. And over here too. About. So I know I rounded. Okay, angle of elevation and the angle form is the angle formed by the horizon and the line of sight when you're looking up at an object. Okay, I always think of elevation as you're looking up because you're being elevated, or whenever you're going up in elevation, you're going up. So that's helps me remember to look up. So underline up. We're going to draw a pretty picture. Now, it's okay if your picture doesn't look as nice as mine. Not everybody can be an artiste like myself. Okay, yes, I know, I know. Okay, this is my horizon line. Okay, and I'm looking up at something. Maybe a bird. Okay. So this is the angle of elevation. Any questions over that? Okay, then the angle of depression is the angle formed by the horizon and a line of sight when you are looking down at an object. This is very easy. When you're depressed, depression, you look down. Okay, so when you have the angle of depression, you're looking down at something. Okay, so again, we're going to draw a picture. You're usually standing on top of something to look down. So I'm going to draw a building. This is the horizon line. When you look down. Maybe we're looking at somebody. This right here is the angle of depression. Any questions over that? See, we have to draw pretty pictures in math too. So much fun. Okay, so now those angles are going to be used in our word problems. So this one I already drew the pretty picture for you. So you don't need to draw the picture, but we will use it to solve our wonderful problem. Okay, a water tower is located 325 feet from a building. From a window in the building, an observer notes that the angle of elevation to the top of the tower is 39 degrees, and the angle of depression to the bottom of the tower is 25. How tall is the tower and how high is the window? So in this, hopefully you see two triangles, and specifically two right triangles. If you do not, we're going to help you out. The first triangle is from this triangle here. This would be a right triangle because the horizon is always going to be perpendicular. So we can find part of the water tower, correct? Okay. Since this is 325 feet away, this would also be 325. The horizon would be 325. I want to know the height of the water tower, so that's this right here, my x. That's my x. So then for that angle, we want to label the opposite side, the adjacent side, and the hypotenuse. We want to use the 325 and the x. Good. Using TOA. Jacob noticed that, not that. Sorry. That the TOA, I'm using tangent for opposite and adjacent. So I'm going to use the tangent of my angle. In this triangle, it's 39 degrees. Equals the opposite side of x over the adjacent side of 325. Any questions over that? We're going to put this over 1, and then we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to get 325 times the tangent of 39 equals 1 times x, which is just x. X is already by itself, so we don't need to divide by anything. We're just going to enter that into our calculator. And I have 263.18. Is that what you guys got? Okay. Any questions over that? But that's only part of the tower. We need the other part of the tower, which would be this triangle here. We're still trying to find, this case we'll label this y, that side of the triangle. We're still going to label this as the opposite side here. This is the adjacent side. This is the hypotenuse. We want to use the adjacent and the opposite, which will again be tangent. So we're going to do the tangent now of 25 degrees equals the opposite side, which is y, over the adjacent side, which is 325. Put this over 1 and cross multiply. Any questions? We're going to multiply that out. And I get y equals 151.55. And then these are feet. Okay, so how tall the tower is is 263.18 plus 151.55, which gives me a total of I have 414 points. Is it 7.2 or 7.3? 7.3? Okay. Feet tall. Okay, then it asks us how high is the window? What value will give me the height of the window? Yeah? It's the y value, right? It's this distance here. That'll give me the height, how tall that window is. Okay. Any questions over that? How are we doing? Okay, this next one we get to draw a really good picture. It's gonna be fun. Okay. Okay, a pilot measures the angle of depression to two ships to be 40 degrees and 52 degrees. If the pilot is flying at an elevation of 35,000 feet, find the distance between the two ships. Okay, so we want to draw an airplane. Mm-hmm. Or an airplane, right? Okay. And then we're going to draw some boats. I know. And then there's another one over here. And let's remember the boats are in water. We're going to draw our line, our horizon line, which is this little dash right there. And then we're going to draw our line to the boat. And our line to the boat. So this angle here is 40 degrees. And then this angle here is 52 degrees. Let's try and fix that. Okay. We're all good? That's horrible. This does not look good. Let me try this again. Okay, the distance from the airplane to the ground is 35,000 feet. What we're looking for is the distance between the two boats. And I can't really draw a triangle because I want to draw a right triangle because that's what I've been dealing with. Right there, because I don't have the angle. I don't have anything. What I do have is I could draw a triangle here, and it'll find the distance from the airplane to this boat. And I could also do that same thing here. Find the distance between this boat from the airplane to this boat. Does that make sense? We're good? Okay. Once I find that, could I find the distance between the two? Yeah. So let's start by labeling. How tall am I here? How high up is the airplane? 35,000. Okay, this is going to be my X, that whole one right here, from here to here. So this is my opposite side from my angle, and this is my adjacent side from my angle. So class, what trig function are we going to use? Tangent. Opposite and adjacent. So we're going to use the tangent of 40 degrees equals 35,000 divided by my unknown X. That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to put this over 1 and cross multiply. And I'm going to do the tangent of 40 times X equals 35,000. My X isn't by itself, so I have to divide by the tangent of 40. These will cancel out and I get X equals I got 41,711.38 feet. Okay, that's not the distance between the two boats though. So now let's find out how far away the airplane is from the first boat. So this one. This is now Y, and this is still 35,000 feet. So I still have the opposite and the adjacent side. So I'm still using tangent. So the tangent of 52 degrees now equals the opposite of 35,000 divided by Y. No, because we're dealing with a different angle degree. So put this over 1, and we're going to cross multiply. We're going to get Y times the tangent of 52 equals 1 times 35,000. Then we're going to divide by the tangent of 52. Plug it into a calculator and see what you get. I got 27,345. Any questions over that? Okay, so now to find the distance between the two, subtract them. Because this will be all the way to this boat, and this is to this boat. So to find the distance between them, we subtract. So 41,711.38 minus 27,345. And I've got 14,366 feet. I'm going to round apart. Any questions over that? We're all good. Okay, your homework is the worksheet that goes along with this. You guys can start working on that.